There's something very, very wrong with this pack of iconic masters. Greetings, hatchlings, and welcome to the rebirth of Boosted Awareness, the show where we take an in-depth look at booster packages of Magic the Gathering. Now, first of all, obviously you're wondering to yourself, well, wait, you said something's very wrong with this pack. Well, what is it? This pack comes from a special box of iconic masters where the packs actually have multiple rares. And I don't mean there could be a foil rare or a regular rare. I mean multiple rares replacing uncommons in the booster pack. There is an individual, a god, known as the Oliver, and he got this messed up box of iconic masters where multiple packs actually have multiple rares in them. So he asked me a long time ago, hey, would you like me to send you out one of these packs? And I said, I sure would love that very much. So he did indeed send a pack out to me. I opened it and there was 3 rares in it. Now I know some of you will be skeptical, no matter what I say. Some of you will be skeptical, but I will let you know that I have opened an amazing amount of booster packs in my life, including resealed boosters. I've been scammed before. I've gotten booster boxes where all the packs were resealed. I've had multiple booster boxes. Cards all the way back from Fallen Empires. I had it happen to me once with a Torment booster box as well. Really frustrating experience. I have looked over the packs that he has sent, and to me, they appear to be 100% legitimate. Now, if you don't find them to be legitimate, then you can just enjoy the episode for what it is. I don't care. Feel free to go in the comments, I can tell, blah, 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 because I get all these kind of comments, and you don't know what you're talking about. But feel how you want to feel, friends. So we're going to go ahead and do this boosted awareness style. Now, for those of you who remember the old pack a day videos that I did, that will be a very similar kind of thing where we're going to go through the cards card by card, take a look at the artwork, the abilities, the flavor, see how it all ties together, culminating hopefully at the end with multiple rares being in the packs. In the pack, I should say. We're only opening the one pack. Now, I can't say for certain that will happen, right? Because each pack is different. One pack I opened had 3 rares, one pack I opened had 2 rares, and I'll link those at the end for you, along with a playlist of all the booster openings, so that if you enjoy this particular format, you can go back, because I've recorded a lot of videos of this nature, actually. So I'll throw them all together into one gigantic playlist for you to enjoy if you want to. But that's enough yapping, on to the Kraken. All right, so here we are with a mysterious pack sent out to me by someone who is known as the Oliver. Now, previously, I have opened some of these packs, and they have had multiple rares. Whether this one will turn out to be the same, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, so let's just go ahead and get this opened here. Come on. Trying to do this. Normally when I do these kind of pack openings, I don't worry so much about getting the pack opened on the screen, but I know that with the kind of mysterious packs like this, people would probably prefer to see the thing getting cracked there as well. Although in the end, that's not going to stop people from thinking, some of them at least, that thinking that these kind of packs are fake, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me, because I get to enjoy the experience, and I've inspected the packs ahead of time, and they seem legit to me. So we're starting out with amass the components. 1 blue, 3 colorless for a sorcery. Draw 3 cards, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. I know, I'll find a use for all that newt spittle. And you've just got some kind of insane inventor here. What is going on with this massive, just crazy conglomeration of things that they are carrying forward? They have all of the different components, I suppose, for whatever crazy creations they're making. This looks like an Innistrad world individual. Maybe this is one of the people who goes ahead and puts together zombie bodies together. I like all the green glowing amazing gas and everything that's coming off of the amassed components here. The draw 3 cards and then put 1 from your hand on the bottom of your library. You could picture that 1 card going from the bottom of your library basically being something falling off the pile and not getting noticed out of this amassing the components. I like it better when there's like a draw 3 kind of card if it's represented by 3 sort of cards, but again, this isn't amass the components, so you don't want to kind of have a massive amount of them there. And you can see that she is struggling under the weight of this just from the way that her legs are kind of bowed inwards with the knees, and you can see behind her all these racks and racks of all the different magical components. This would be a very interesting room to peruse. You would probably see some very interesting and very horrific things located in this room. So what do we have next? Mark of Mutiny. Here we have a Sphinx being taken control of by a red mage. 1 red, 2 colors, gain control of target creature till end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on it and untap it. That creature gains haste until end of turn. And the flavor text says, the flame of anger is hard to douse once lit. That's pretty interesting. I like the way that the flavor text kind of ties into the +1/+1 counter ability. Like the +1/+1 counter is the flame of anger, and even once this creature has returned to its original controller, it still has some of that anger embedded in it, and that's what the +1/+1 counter comes from. I like that the artwork is very dark. You have the red mage standing there with his hands outstretched in the ritual, and just the one red hand glowing with crazy fire magic that's also echoed by the halo of fire that's erupted around the Sphinx's head. I like it too because having it around its head there kind of shows like, all right, I've got a control of its brain, but also kind of would be blinding its eyes. And the way that the light coruscates upwards in this crazy wave, I really, really enjoy this artwork a lot, actually. This is fantastic. And the size of the individual versus the size of the Sphinx, I mean, taking advantage of one of your opponent's massive creatures is something you're going to want to do with this. So I think that the art and the whole thing, the whole flavor of this card ties together really, really well. Then we've got Ballad Scorpion. 1 black and 3 colorless for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature with power 1 or less. And the flavor text says, fast and lethal with a penchant for the weak and infirm. That's brutal. So, I mean, you look at it, the power 1 or less is going to represent the weak and infirm individuals. That's, it's pretty scary to think about this. I mean, a human being is 1/1 or 0/1 normally, right? So this thing is 2/3. So it's already a lot bigger than a regular scorpion, a lot bigger than a person even, but it literally seeks out the weak and infirm to destroy. That's just, you would just come in and this thing would be like just crawling up on top of your baby's cradle, getting ready to obliterate it. And it's just got this crazy like light coming out from the middle of it. It's such dark artwork where you have the big hulking scorpion with, you got all these spikes coming off its back. It almost feels like you should have death touch, honestly, but that's all right. That's a minor issue. When you look at the light emanating from its mouth, it's like, what is that? Is that how it straight up just destroys something? It's an interesting bit of artwork. Just that pinpoint of light always draws my eye. Let's move on. Oh no! The Nan Tuco shaman ain't having none of this. Ha ha ha. Ho ho ho. 1 green, 2 colors for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, if you control no tapped lands, draw a card. Now that's weird. You look at that and go, wait a minute. How am I supposed to cast this guy and have him come out where I get to draw a card because I have no tapped lands? Well, that's where his suspend ability comes in. So instead of paying 3 mana to put him out, you spend an extra mana, 4 mana, and you suspend him for 1. And what suspend does is it allows you to, instead of casting the card from your hand, you pay the amount of mana, in this case 4, you exile it off to the side with 1 time counter on it because it has suspend 1, and at the beginning of your upkeep you remove a time counter. Once you remove the 1 time counter from this, then you get to cast the spell for free, and the creature comes into play with haste. So that's how you would get to put it out and have it actually let you draw a card. And if you're wondering about the artwork, we can see the Nan Tuco, which are the insect creatures. This is a Nan Tuco shaman who's coming through a time rift. This is from the era of Time Spiral, where you would have all of these different creatures and artifacts, all these different things coming through time rifts and kind of merging into different timelines and dimensions. So that's literally what's going on. That's a completely different time that the Nan Tuco is stepping out of. I really enjoy the Nan Tuco's staff. I like the contrast of behind him. It looks almost like the trees are like dead almost. It's just got this kind of like white deadness to him, and where he's stepping out, it's all vibrant. You can see there's all kinds of little plant life growing up around him. His staff has that funky animal skull up at the top, but it's also got like nature wreathing the top of it as well. I picture this as a Nan Tuco coming from a more bleak time into a more verdant time, which would be a nice change for him as a nature mage. Then we got Heat Ray. This is from the world of Zendikar. You can see the Hedrons there in the back. 1 red and X. Heat Ray deals X damage to target creature. There was clearly a scream. I'm not sure if there was a mouth. Satyr, Akum Expeditionary House. So this is an Eldrazi getting smashed by some red magic over on the world of Zendikar. This is when they're fighting against the Eldrazi incursion, and you can see how bleak things are when you look at the world. All you can see is a flat kind of parched earth, and in the background you can see shadowed that there are all these Hedrons and everything like that, but it's all murky. There's like a greenish gray, a greenish miasma in the background, giving kind of like the idea of a poison world. Now, you can see this Eldrazi doesn't have a mouth, but you can see the holes where some kind of keening death wail would come from. So that's pretty funky. Then we've got Disenchant. This card was actually from the very, very beginning of Magic the Gathering. 1 white, 1 colorless, instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. The tools of evil are mere things, and like all things, they cannot last forever. Song of All, Canto 881. The Song of All is from Sarah's realm and all of the different angels that are involved with that. And this clearly shows a magical artifact being disenchanted. You can see magic arcing out of the fingers of this mage, disassembling, taking this artifact apart. You can see pieces breaking off of it. So it works pretty well. Interestingly enough, off the top of my head, I can't recognize this artwork. It could be a ratchet bomb or something similar, but it's not particularly clear exactly what it is, which I kind of like, because the original Disenchant artwork showed an artifact that didn't even exist in Magic the Gathering being destroyed. So it feels like a nod to that for me. And I really like the blue that they've used in the background here. I like aqua, marine, and teal. I'm a real fan of those colors, and I feel like it really makes the hand and the artifact stand out against the background. You've got these weird lines of energy, almost like the area around this artifact is kind of collapsing in on itself as well. Very neat. Then we've got Claustrophobia, such evocative artwork. 2 blue and a colorless, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So you can see this is somebody who has been nailed into a coffin. And basically you can imagine that they've been put into a coffin and buried under the earth. And they're screaming about it. You have this man, it's this upside down perspective, which makes it feel like he's been nailed into a coffin and buried under the earth, which is why he's tapped and won't be untapped. You can see the length of the nails that were used to actually slam the thing shut right here. That's pretty crazy. You can see his hands are clawed up the way that they are, and they're all scratching down along the top of it. He's scratching grooves into it. Very shortly he would end up with bloodied fingers. You can see this is from the world of Innistrad, from his garb. The way that he is dressed says this is clearly Innistrad that we're dealing with. And just the level of panic on his face, if you look specifically at his eyes especially, you can see that they're open and wild. This is a really terrifying, evocative piece, and the entire just blue nature of it kind of drains some of the life out of it, which makes it even scarier. I really like this artwork. It's really well done. Then we've got Scion of Egon. This is one of the Ugin the Spirit Dragon's servants here. 6 mana for a 4/4 dragon spirit with flying. For hundreds of years, Ugin slept, encased in the cocoon of stone and magic Sarkhan had created using a shard of a Zendikari Hedron. As Ugin lay dormant, his spectral guardians kept vigil. So these are the little smaller version spectral dragons that protected Ugin while he slept after Sarkhan went back and meddled with the timeline. Because originally, Ugin got destroyed, but Sarkhan went back and actually managed to save him by manipulating time and fate, which is a very funky storyline, actually. And as for the artwork, it's okay to me. I like the dark, gloomy area behind him, the Hedrons and everything, but I don't know. There's just something about this spirit dragon that doesn't really do much for me. Although, admittedly, his claws, his very thin spectral claws, look pretty rough, and the crystal horns on him are pretty cool. And actually, you know what, the wings look pretty funky too. They've got like a half tattered, half spiky kind of appearance to him. So, you know what, I take it back. The artwork isn't that bad. For some reason, I always just kind of pass over the artwork on this card. But that's part of what I'm here to do, is appreciate cards that are underappreciated. 1 black and 2 colorless Phyrexian Rager. This was originally came out in the Invasion block. This was an Apocalypse. When Phyrexian Rager enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. I really liked these abilities because black is hard up for card draw, so I enjoy that from that perspective. The flavor text is, I believe many worlds will bow to Phyrexia. Mirrodin is merely the first. Sheoldred, Whispering One. And this flavor text is referencing the switch from when Mirrodin got taken over by New Phyrexia, which was a very, very interesting storyline. Here you can see a Phyrexian. Phyrexians are creatures made of both flesh and metal. It has a very, very alien feel to it. In the front of the artwork, you can see the black and red undertones to give, like, he's got like a rib cage there with some red flesh embedded in it, but then you've got all these black mechanical limbs. Clearly has way too many limbs, almost like a spider. It's got an insectile feel to it. It feels very otherworldly and just very menacing. In all honesty, this feels bigger than a tutu when you look at the artwork, and clearly it matches up with the creature type horror, because that's what this is. Phyrexia is all about creating horrific amalgams of man and machine. Moving on to Nature's Claim. Oh, this artwork's great. 1 green instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. The timeless, tireless jaws of nature shall one day devour us all. What an awesome piece of flavor text. The timeless, tireless jaws of nature shall one day devour us all. Sildark, Artificer of Omu. You can almost see him maybe sitting by this pond here, reflecting. You've got this statue which has been overtaken by nature. You can see that it's half submerged in water. I think before I couldn't tell exactly what the artifact was supposed to be, but now I finally get the art, where this is a statue similar to like an Akroma's monument. This is some kind of monument artifact, but slowly over time, nature has reclaimed it. It's sunk down into the water. You've got this nice idyllic, like you've got these big trees. It's all overgrown. You've got lily pads, these lotuses in the front and everything. This is a really nice piece of artwork. This feels like some like glade. You could stumble through a glade in a forest and then come across this little pond with this ancient statue that's kind of half submerged in wonder. Was this the god of some civilization that they worshipped? Very, very cool. Then we've got, oh, speaking of monuments, this is that's actually a nice contrast to show what I'm talking about. It could be a monument of this nature, just half sunk into the pond. So, Colahan's Monument, 3 colorless. It's an artifact that taps to add a black or red to your mana pool, and then you can pay 6 mana to make it a 4/4 black and red dragon artifact creature with flying until end of turn. Colahan has no lasting home, but her disciples leave relics to mark her conquests. That's pretty cool. They erect these statues to basically show tribute to this Colahan dragon lord that they worship, and the statues themselves can actually animate and turn into dragons for brief periods of time. And you can see all the lightning arcing down out of the sky, kind of making you think of like the Dragon Storm card, where all these dragons were coming out of these dragon tempests. It's a pretty funky world where all this was happening on. This happened in the world of Tarkir, and I like the way that the dragon is framed against the sky. Like the lightning is only on either side of it, not behind it, and behind it you have just a bunch of clouds, but they're not that dark, which helps the dragon statue stand out more. Very imposing looking statue. Then we've got Azorius Charm. Well, this is appropriate for the time we're in right now, dealing with Ravnica. 1 white, 1 blue. Choose 1. Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Draw a card or put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. Now, in terms of the artwork, these charms don't really transmit what's going on very well. I mean, you look at this. This is some kind of scepter tip. This doesn't look like a martial spear, because if you look at the tips there, there's no point to it. There's no sharp edges. So this is not a spear. This is more like a scepter, and it's a one-shot use. I guess the charm is just supposed to be the words showing up on the rings around the top of the scepter. This is the Azorius Law Script magic, which I really like, actually. I like the concept behind that. Obviously, I also enjoy the fact that the artwork has a lot of blue and white to it, which transmits the colors of the card as well. The fact that the charm is like the center of the artwork, I think it's a pretty pretty well done piece of artwork, even though it doesn't really transmit the concept. Like if you just look at the artwork, you wouldn't go, okay, this does these three things. You would realize this is some kind of mage doing something though. So you do have that. I like the artwork overall. Some banging going out in the hall. Oh, Mama La Jamba, sweet baby bing bang. We got us a nice fat daddy rare, and we're at the beginning of the rares. How many uncommons did we get? We got 2 uncommons, so there's probably going to be an extra rare in this set, in this pack, I should say. So I'm getting distracted by the banging out in the hallway. But when you're recording a pack opening, there's nothing you can do about that, because I can't go back in time, baby. So we got Horizon Canopy. This is one of the best rares from the set, so not going to complain there. It's a big money Mambo La Jamba. It is a land where you pay 1 life to add a green or white to your mana pool, pay 1 and tap it, sacrifice it to draw a card. The day is born within its branches. Well, that's funky. The flavor text ties really well into the artwork, where you have the sun peeking out amongst all these trees here. The trees are really, really narrow looking, but they all come together with all their leaves to create, this is where the canopy comes from. It's just the idea that if you were above, you wouldn't, like, you can see through the trees down from our perspective, but if you were flying above it, you wouldn't be able to see that at all. I really like this artwork, actually. It's very simple. It feels like artwork that you could find on a basic land, so I mean, it makes sense to have this on a land's artwork, and I like the fact that the flavor text ties the artwork into the name quite neatly. So let's see, do we have a second rare? Oh man! Oh! What a pack! Oliver, thanks, brother. A Horizon Canopy and an Aether Vial. Wow! All right. 1 colorless artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on it. Tap it. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Aether Vial from your hand onto the battlefield. This is such a powerful card, letting you put out creatures for free and also getting around any kind of additional costs you may have to pay to put them out. Like, you can just slap out creatures that normally would say, in addition, you must sacrifice a creature, or you must do this, and you can just go, no, I'm going to put it straight out. On top of that, it can just accelerate the number of creatures you can put out, because you can use that to put it out and have your mana open to cast other creature spells or other spells altogether. In terms of the artwork, we have what looks like a Mirrodin Artificer looking at the Aether Vial itself. The Aether Vial looks amazing, honestly, with that energy that's trapped inside of this nice filigreed ornate bottle. It definitely feels very, very magical. And the idea, I suppose, is that you open up the vial and outpours the aether, and it opens up a portal where a creature just steps through. It's fuel for the imagination. And also, what is with the number of, like, it looks like, does this guy have multiple eyes? Is that what's going on? The helmet is very, very interesting to me. Does this man have like 8 different eyes, or are those just extra designs to go around it? Are those gems fastened into his helmet and he's blind? It's hard to tell exactly, but it's very evocative. Also, his fingers have this weird sort of segmented thing going on. But man, double rare pack. Oh, there's something definitely wrong with this pack, but in such a good way. And the, ew. All right. Well, I mean, we're going from the high highs to the low low here. This is a pretty unimpressive foil in terms of value. So let's just evaluate it for the card it is. 1 white, 1 colorless for a 2/2 Vigilance, Renown 1 Human Soldier. And Renown 1 says, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it becomes renowned. So basically, this is like becoming almost legendary. Nobody knows who I am, but once you manage to strike out against the other planeswalker, then people will know who you are. And the flavor text says, my scars are my sigils. I will wear them with pride long after you're gone. And the artwork, honestly, is really nice. I never paid attention to the artwork on this card because, like a lot of us, when looking at janky Magic cards, you don't spend much time staring at it. You just go, meh, and you move on to the next card. But that's part of why these boosted awareness episodes and going through the actual art makes a big difference, because this is a gorgeous card. She looks really cool. She's illuminated with this kind of like godly light to show that she has been selected by Heliod. That's part of the renown thing, you know, being like chosen by the gods. She has a very, very like that blade that she's holding in her hand is just polished to a mirrored surface. The same with her shoulder pads, the same with the little bracelet that she's got on protecting her arm. All of her armor is highly polished. Even her hair looks golden. She's got a lovely face, and she's got this look of determination as she's sliding one blade forward and also reaching behind her to draw out another longer sword. You can actually see the blade going all the way down here if you look really closely. So she's definitely got a sense of real action and danger to her. I suppose maybe the renown is also being represented by this is the first damage that's done, and then bringing out this sword is the other +1/+1 counter that makes her beefier. It's pretty cool. Or, I mean, based on the flavor text, it could also be that her scars are her +1/+1 counter. I'm not 100% sure. It's a little muddy in that regard, but overall, it's actually pretty flavorful. I like this. And then we've got the dragon token. This is the tutu dragon token that's made by a dragon egg. It's just a tutu flyer that has fire breathing. And I mean, in terms of the artwork, I don't know. I think he looks kind of goofy with his eyes open, his mouth open the way that he is with the fire coming out. He's got a big fireball in his mouth, but only a little trickle of fire coming out. For me, this artwork, this token artwork, is kind of underwhelming, but that's all right because, oh man, this pack, sweet lordy, look at that. Now that's amazing. Once again, thank you, Oliver. And now it's time to hand it back over to me. Oh, mama llama ding dong. Can you believe it? That's absolutely insane. Horizon and Canopy and Aether Vial. Do you know what the prices on those cards are right now in Canadian? Horizon Canopy goes for $90 to $100, and Aether Vial is $50 to $55. Sweet lordy. Thanks, Oliver. Thanks for sending that amazing ballin' pack out. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'll mention again now, I'm going to link up the other openings of these, and I'll include the playlist of all the, this is another pack, by the way. I didn't somehow manage to reseal it. This is just a placeholder pack, because guess what? I had to re-record part of this because I screwed up. All right, so the illusion's been broken. Oh no! Anyways, you'll find the links here while we roll the golden scroll. The people who have my back on Patreon or through channel memberships makes a huge difference to what I'm doing. You should get on board too. You should have your name at the end of my videos because it's an amazing place to be. So thanks for being here, everyone, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, unless I screw this up and have to come back and record it again. Greetings, hatchlings, and welcome to the rebooth. I said rebooth instead of rebirth. Hail to the king, baby.